three things that are quietly sabotaging your meta ads performance and preventing you from scaling. A lot of your standard direct response, educate the problem, twist the knife, like it really doesn't account for this. The marketing that grabs your attention is often filtered through your gendered frame of reference, even if it's technically for the opposite gender. Format will get you in front of more members of a specific generation, but your core value prop and your advertising angle determines who will actually convert. Your habits locked person is going to have your highest LTV potential because they're just using the product more and they're already habitual category users. These are three things that I've noticed pop up again and again in my work as a creative strategist, but I honestly don't see them discussed very much on YouTube or X or anywhere else you go to learn about meta ads. Hey, my name is Alex Greifeld, and today I'm going to talk about three things that are quietly sabotaging your meta ads performance and preventing you from scaling. And these are not your standard direct response copywriting things. These are three things that I've noticed pop up again and again in my work as a creative strategist, but I honestly don't see them discussed very much on YouTube or X or anywhere else you go to learn about meta ads. So my name's Alex Greifeld. If you don't know me, I'm a creative strategist with deep operational expertise. I've been in e-commerce and digital marketing since 2012. I have a lot of experience in the fashion and apparel vertical, but in the past 3 to 4 years, I've really shifted focus to health, wellness, beauty, more like problem solution oriented products. And what I do is I work with brands specifically to help them unlock new audiences and new avatars and really expand their reach so that they can scale up ad spend. So I offer creative strategy services with that specific focus. And the three things I'm going to talk about in this presentation are three things that I see pop up repeatedly in different accounts and brands that I audit. But again, they just don't get spoken about a lot. So the first thing is boys versus girls. You need to speak to men and women differently. They care about different things. And a lot of your standard direct response, educate the problem, twist the knife, like it really doesn't account for this. So men and women have different motivations. And I'm talking about the median consumer here, so don't get offended by what I'm about to say. These are ads from two weight loss products. The first is the Dad Bod Destroyer Sack. So if you have a beer, the core sales argument here is like, you have a beer belly, you're out of shape, it's ruining your life, you're not living up to your potential. This product is going to supercharge your fat burning. It was developed by a certified Chad. I think this guy is actually the founder. And if you take this and you go to the gym, it's going to help accelerate your results. This other product is called Hormone Harmony. This is the female targeted product. And the sales argument behind this is essentially hormonal imbalance is sabotaging your weight loss efforts. That's why you're trying so hard and the scale isn't moving. It's not your fault. You're not crazy, you're not lazy, you're not broken. Thousands of women are struggling with this same problem. Like, it is so frustrating. And I'll share the slides. If you click on these links, you can watch these ads, but you try to imagine selling to a woman through this framework. Lady, like, you're overweight and it's ruining your life and it's causing all your problems. Like, that just inherently, you can't do that. And I think this is like a perfect illustration of this principle that you need to market to men and women differently. So this is a quick guide to male versus female messaging and what resonates. Thinking about key motivators. So for men, it's really status, leverage, mastery, optimization, secret knowledge, like secret insider knowledge. For women, it's protecting stability, getting relief from guilt, relief from the mental load of bringing certainty into their lives. So for women, it's actually inherently much more conservative. It's about protecting what I already have. In terms of hooks and framing, for men, it's like analytical, scientific, framing the problem as a knowledge gap. Here's what you didn't know. For women, it's absolving guilt. It's not your fault. You're normal. And really framing it as she is one of many people who are experiencing this. And you want to focus more on positive outcomes over agitation. I remember when I started marketing, basically like the first weight loss focused ads I ever ran, it didn't take off and scale until I stopped trying to agitate that issue and talk. And instead I focused on, I'm already successful. If I had to do this all over again, this is what I would do. Emotional triggers. So for men, it's going from shame to control. It's like giving him a lever to take control over the situation. For women, it's more of this complicated loop of you need to make her feel safe. You need to make her feel like she can trust you. You need to give her permission to move forward and care about the problem. You need to reassure her that it will work for women in her specific situation. And then you need to make her feel like she's not a weirdo for going through all of this. And then in terms of social proof, for men, it's like results, giving him a leaderboard to compete among, scientific stats as proof, and then this whole idea of joining the winner's circle. The men who have used this before are all successful, and if you want to be part of that, you have to get into this. For women, it's like relatable testimonials, and then addressing common objections up front. So if your product has a lot of negative or mixed reviews on Reddit or social media, like that will really impact the female buyer attorney more. She's doing a lot more research. So here is like a really highly exaggerated example of this principle. This is almost the toxic feminine and the toxic masculine. So on one hand, we have Andrew Tate's Hustlers University. Andrew Tate, very controversial figure, but the whole principle behind Hustler University is you learn, I think, 9 or 11 different money-making skills. I think like copywriting and affiliate marketing are in there. You get exclusive access to the winners, to like the guys who've already made money with these skills and the strategies they use. And then it promises to help you level up in all areas of your life. So you make money, you use money to get more power, you use power to get better relationships with other people. Then on the female side, you have Shelby Saps. She sells, I don't know if she calls it university. Shelby Saps, she sells, that's a tongue twister. But essentially, this is taking the concept of high ticket sales and marketing it towards women. A lot of sales training and advice is like historically very bro coded, but she's making it accessible to women because she's framing it as essentially like a way to make 5 figures a month working 20 hours a week from your laptop, wherever. You join this community, which is not exclusive, of women using high ticket sales to enable quote unquote like the soft girl life. So time freedom, luxury lifestyle, go to Pilates at 11 a.m. And she makes it seem easy, like all you need is 4 hours a day and probably to be like relatively attractive. If you look at the social media profiles of both of these people, you will get that immediately legible understanding of like the vision that they're selling and how it's highly gendered. But the outcome is the same. It's like you're making money your way, you're getting freedom from the 9 to 5, but the way they frame it is wildly different. So every marketer has unconscious bias that's just shaped by essentially like your entire life up to this point. But the thing to keep in mind is that the marketing that grabs your attention is often filtered through your gendered frame of reference, even if it's technically for the opposite gender. So I'll give you an example. I was working for a male founder with a brand where the customer base was like 70% women. He would often send me these ad swipes that were either from male-focused brands, so they weren't super relevant to us, or it was like marketing that was ostensibly aimed at women, but it was like highly filtered through the male gaze. So think about like Taylor Swift versus Megan Fox. They're both attractive female celebrities, but one has a primarily female fan base, the other has a primarily male fan base, and there's a reason why. Okay, moving on to the sneaky saboteur number 2, generational warfare. We're hitting all the hot topics that will help you go viral on X in this video. So the thing to be aware of here, the past is a foreign country. So this is like an image from the 1960s in America. By 1980, I think 98% of households had a TV. There was no consumer internet. There were no cell phones. 80% of American households still had a daily subscription to a physical paper newspaper. So, and if you look at this picture, this is like appointment viewing. It's like the entire family is sitting around the TV set at the same time. No one's staring at a phone. No one's like in their room doing their own thing. It's a completely different environment than what we're used to today. Even if you go back, this is a picture from 2008 or 2010. 2010, no Instagram, no iPhone. Uber was only existing in San Francisco. It wasn't a national thing. No DoorDash. Again, like completely different environment, relationship to media. And the media and the technology that's available shapes the cultural environment, and the cultural environment shapes how consumers perceive entertainment and trust. And that is everything. So when we're talking about generations in terms of advertising, when we're talking about boomers, it's actually older Gen X and actual boomers. And the frame of reference here is TV was the dominant form of media. Print media is still important, it's still relevant, and it's still authoritative. And TV, most importantly of all, TV was gate-kept heavily. So if something is important enough to get on TV, there must be something to it. Millennials, we're actually talking about younger Gen X and older millennials. So frame of reference here, some TV, but really more like reality TV, Web 1.0, and friend graph social networks, where there's this inherent optimism around the internet, like Google was still saying, don't be evil. And essentially, if something shows up in your feeds, it's probably because someone you trust recommended it. And then you go to Gen Z, and when we speak about Gen Z in this context, it's actually younger millennials and Gen Z. Their frame of reference is TV and print are like almost irrelevant. It's all about the phone, short form video. And your social feed is personally curated based on engagement. So this translates into basically what types of creative formats are going to resonate with people in each of these generations. For older Gen X and boomers, it's really like your traditional VSL, an authority figure giving a 3-minute or longer explanation of the problem, the failed solution, the product. If you click on these links, you'll be able to see full examples of each of these ads. And then also the clickbait advertorial, like a static that looks news coded, like breaking news kind of thing. Doctors and legacy publications are authority figures. They're more willing to read more words. Slower pacing is okay, longer form videos. Less need to dopamine jack, longer, slower, more TV-like pacing. Then when you're talking about your younger Gen X and older millennials, there's the millennial infomercial, which is essentially like a 45 to 60 second problem solution features narrative, and it's shot on an iPhone, usually with a single creator. And then you have the influencer recommendation. So it's someone who's unboxing or reviewing the product on camera. This is where you get the stereotypical, oh my God, guys, I'm so obsessed with this. So for this generation, authority figures are like niche publications, internet micro celebrities, and getting validation outside the sphere of the internet does confer some authority, but it's not necessarily about getting on CNN, like Shark Tank, getting on reality TV, going viral. Those all confirm authority. They're less willing to read long form, so it's like listicles, things that look and feel like a BuzzFeed article, RIP. And then the sweet spot for video is like 45 to 90 seconds, and you have to keep it engaging and dopamine jack a bit more. Then when you move on to Gen Z and younger millennials, it's like these really TikTok kind of feeling formats, the one shot, which is a long text overlay with hypnotic B-roll footage in the background, and then viral short form demo. If you click this link, this is a really good example of that format. But if you go, basically, like if you watch the top videos from TikTok Shop, it will give you a good feeling for this. Authority is just whoever can grab and hold attention or demonstrate highly legible success. Forget about reading. This generation not really interested in reading. Sweet spot for videos under 30 seconds. And things feel more credible to them if it looks and feels like it was never touched by a marketer's hands. So the important caveats to this is that format will get you in front of more members of a specific generation, but your core value prop and your advertising angle determines who will actually convert. So, for example, if you're selling like an arthritis relief product, I think 60 to 70% of people over 75 suffer from arthritis, whereas I think like less than 20% of people under 45 do. So if you think about the relative market within generations for that problem, it doesn't matter how Gen Z optimized you make your content. Like it's just not, it will never be as successful as if you just lean into your natural audience. All right, so sneaky saboteur number 3, treating your total addressable market as a monolith. Different segments within your total addressable market have different lifetime value potential. So let's say that we are selling creatine, very trendy right now. There's the heavy user, and these are people who are already they probably already have something they're using daily. Their habits are locked in. This is like your gym bro who's working out 4 to 5 times a week, or your biohacker or lifestyle optimizer guy. Then you have people who are just in the process of habit formation. They're a moderate user. They're probably motivated into this state by a change or a problem. You might have the woman who's in her 40s or 50s who her doctor is telling her she needs to start lifting weights to stave off osteoporosis. There's like a kid, he's a senior in high school and he's like working out in the gym for the first time. And then you have your experimentation / impulse buyer segment. So like maybe your product goes viral on TikTok, or it's like new year, new me, and people are just like looking for stuff to help support their New Year's resolutions. So there's a trade-off between scale and lifetime value potential within these segments of your market. Your habits locked person is going to have your highest LTV potential because they're just using the product more and they're already habitual category users, but the scale is typically going to be smaller because this is like your true hobbyist, like your true diehard, and that's just always going to be the smallest part of any market. Then your habit formation folks are right in the middle of LTV and scale. And your experimenters are always going to be your biggest, broadest audience, but they're going to be the least committed because they've been drawn into it by a sudden, it's almost like not an intrinsic motivation. It's like a trend-driven motivation. Burning problems motivate new habit formation. So this is like the area where direct response marketing becomes most powerful. But you have to know that like you're never going to turn a New Year's resolutioner into a 4 to 5 time a week gym goer like at scale. And if you've ever belonged to a gym, like you've seen this. The gym population explodes in January, and by like February, March, it's back to what it usually is. And most of these people, you'll just like never see them again. So I'm going to give you a real life example. This happened like 4 or 5 years ago, so I feel comfortable sharing it, but it's no longer necessarily relevant. This is a brand called Alpha Lion. Their most scalable bundle, I actually mentioned it earlier in the slides, Dad Bod Destroyer Stack. It's a weight loss product. The audience, they got it to go really broad with some really good advertising, but the repeat purchase rate for a time was below the brand average. So they were getting more people to opt in, but fewer of them were coming back and subscribing. Whereas some of their best, highest LTV customers were coming from their recovery and sleep products. And the hypothesis at the time was This was like the older, more serious, kind of like biohacker adjacent customer. It wasn't something that they had explored on Meta up until that point, and there were no bundles around this theme. So there's room for both, essentially, but if you were trying to scale a bundle around this customer and hold it to the same KPIs as this one, it would never go anywhere. So it's like you have to be aware of these things and try to build out funnels and offerings and economics to meet every segment in your market, because that's how you scale and capture the most market share. There are also insights about new scalable bundles living inside your sales data. Like this, we only figured out this by doing customer lifecycle and merchandising analysis. So that's it. Those are the 3 sneaky saboteurs. You can scan this QR code to get on the wait list for audience expansion sprints. That's the service I offer where I help you unlock new audiences and new markets for your product with ad creative, copywriting, funnels, all that good stuff, with the goal of helping you increase your daily meta ad spend by at least $5,000 a day over the course of 90 days. You can also use this link to sign up for my newsletter. I send it out every Sunday. I'd say 9 out of 10 newsletters I send are just pure insights, not just pitching you something day after day. So that's my little pitch for the end of Marketing Woman Summer, and thanks for listening.